next guest is an Emmy-nominated writer and comedian you know for his work on Saturday Night Live and Los Spookies. He wrote, directed, and stars in the film Problemista, which is in select theaters now and opens everywhere March 22nd. Let's take a look.
Hello. Hi. My name is Alejandro. I am originally from El Salvador, but I live in New York now. And I have a lot of ideas for toys. Toys these days are wonderful, but they are a little bit too preoccupied with fun. I have a few ideas for toys that include a doll that is kind of like a Barbie, except she has her little fingers crossed behind her back. This, I believe, will add much tension and intrigue to any dream house. Life can't be all parties. And my personal favorite, smartphones for Cabbage Patch dolls displaying their uniquely complicated lives. Like Marjorie, for instance. She should have a little picture of a spot inside of her mouth, but she's sexting to a friend because she's worried that it might be something bad.
Please welcome back to the show our friend Julio Torres, everybody. Welcome back,
Hello,
my friend. It's been almost a couple years. I'm so happy to have you here.
When did you stop wearing suits?
Pandemic.
Pandemic, okay,
Yeah.
I prefer this.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
That's good to
yeah,
know, because
no,
you
no,
have a
so much
great
better.
visual style, so I would have taken it very hard if you
If you're like, you should go
pro-so-
back to
yeah.
the suits.
I also kind
This is a serious business.
I also know you to be an honest person, so I think if you did think suits, you would have just said it. You wouldn't have. You would have been happy to tell me if you thought this was worse.
I'm a very honest person, but you would have to ask for it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But do you think you would have teed it up? You would have come out and been like, "How long?" And I would have said, "Oh, a couple years." And you'd been like,
And it's like, what happened around that time? Can we heal?
Well, that's very nice of you to say, and congratulations. I was introduced to your work as a wonderful writer on SNL, and then you made the terrific show Los Spookies, and now you wrote, directed, and star in your own feature. Tilda Swinton
Yeah.
is in your movie.
Yes.
And Tilda Swinton is
Heard of her?
one of the greatest living actors, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like when Tilda Swinton basically said, "Yeah, I'm game"?
It felt right. It felt like, oh, of course, yes. But the thing about her is that even though she's I mean, this word is overused now, but iconic.
Yeah.
Even though she is iconic and a legend, she's also so funny and warm and sweet. And it was so immediately nice. And one of my favorite moments was she was trying on her wardrobe for the movie, and then she put on her coat backwards, and then she goes, or maybe she wears it backwards. And I was like, oh, you're a friend. Yeah. You're a friend.
You play someone who takes a job with her as an assistant.
Yeah.
She plays a very difficult person, and is that where the title of the movie Problemista came from? Like, how did you come up with this as a title?
Well, the title of the movie Problemista came from me suggesting a lot of titles that no one else liked. I liked the title Problemista, but at one point the movie was called 13 Eggs.
13 Eggs?
13 Eggs. Okay.
Yeah.
When you.
Yes.
In the context, it makes sense. But I guess they were worried about that reaction from audiences. 13 eggs? I thought it was great. But I also wanted to call it My Little Problems.
Yeah. That's not a bad title.
Okay, I heard an oh. Is that a good oh or about oh? Like.
It does. I mean, I will say, My Little Problems does feel like it may be in that world of my Secret Little Lies or Big Little Problems. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like.
Oh, it's in the Pretty Little Liars,
yeah,
Big Little Secrets.
I might think there's a murder.
Yeah, a murder and heels.
Yeah.
And then Bowen, our friend Bowen, suggested calling it My First Movie. Which I considered it. I was just like, oh, imagine like my first movie in cursive, my first movie. And then my second movie would be my second movie.
Yeah, just be honest about what people are getting.
Yeah.
This is
And
so
it's
again,
mine.
So you start working for Tilda to get a work visa, to get sponsored for a work visa.
Yeah, for
And this
her
is
character.
Very. This is autobiographical, and you had to. This is a very honest take on the sort of jobs people will take on early in their time in New York City, especially if they need it for a work visa. What were some of the early jobs that you were lucky enough to, or unlucky enough to have?
So they were all through Craigslist.
I should know Craigslist is a character in the movie.
Craigslist is a character.
Yeah, you
in-
have an actor who plays Craigslist.
Yes, yes. I have an
Very
actor.
on brand for everything I love about you.
Yeah, my dear wonderful friend Larry Owens plays Craigslist, and Larry plays Craigslist like with like Ursula from The Little Mermaid sensuality.
Yeah.
It's very like oh, this is bad, but I want to be here. It's Craigslist wants something from you, but can give you so much. Like that's the.
So did you? And was that your initial take on Craigslist when you first encountered it? That it was a sensual being?
Well, there was a melody to the ads where it was like IKEA Billy bookcase, very help wanted immediately, need help, need help. That was very very seductive. But no, I did so many jobs. But one ad that I replied to said looking for magician's assistant.
Okay.
And immediately, like, I envisioned a new life for myself. And I was just so in love with the idea that I would be a magician's assistant, reinventing it and, like, breaking, like, gender norms, etc., being a magician's assistant. And I show up to the interview, and the first thing he says is, "I am not magician." And I was like, okay. And he said, "I am musician." And I'm like, typo, okay, sure. And then his whole thing was that he was like, I have a saxophone. He had his saxophone case next to him. It's like, I have a saxophone and I'm looking for someone to book me for parties. And I play the saxophone and people are having fun at the party. And then all of a sudden, comes out. And then I'm like, what do you mean comes out? So apparently from within the hole of the saxophone, there was a dildo that will come out. And he goes like, and from the vodka, tequila, and it's just like, oh, it's a great time. Like people are done, like pouring drinks. And I'm like, okay, this seems like maybe like a bachelorette party situation. But then he was like, I need you to book me for gigs, but the people booking me cannot know that there is a dildo in the saxophone, or else it'll break the illusion.
I mean, I gotta say, because that's the hardest job in the world is just booking a saxophone guy for a party.
Yeah.
So now you got to get over that hurdle.
And then you get all nervous. I hope they like the dildo. I really hope they like the dildo.
Because that's a Venn diagram that I feel like almost has no overlap. People want a
overlap.
saxophone at a party.
Yeah.
But they also don't mind if there's a surprise that serves cocktails.
Yeah.
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 So that was you maybe turned that one down.
Not turn it down. I wanted it so badly. But he didn't hire me.
Really?
No.
So the issue in the end was he didn't think you were up for the job.
No, it's New York. It's New York. Like, everyone's dying to have any job.
Right.
So, like, behind me, there was a line of, like, 30 people
Who
desperately wanting this job.
Who had experience. They're like, I worked on a piano.
Yeah.
So I'd love to, I feel like it's close
So
enough.
how are you supposed to get experience managing a dildo saxophone if no one gives you the job?
That's the thing, right? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like you only get in if you know somebody. We talked about toys, or the clip was, this is a film where you want to be a toy designer.
Yes.
In the film.
Yeah.
And you posted this. This is Krisha?
Yeah, so I heard one clap in the audience, which makes me very happy, which means that there is one diehard Julio fan in the audience. So Krisha and I have known each other for a while.
Okay, Krisha is a McNugget?
She has she's estranged from her family, but yes.
Okay.
She's a McNugget. I met her many years ago, and she was in the movie, but I had to cut her
Oh, God.
out of the movie
Yeah.
because she was mic'd and she was just like, she's like weirdly Christian in like really scary ways.
Okay.
And just like the things that she was saying, it's like,
Oh.
I don't care what they do at home, but why do they do it here?
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? And
You
it's-
got on a movie set. You
yeah,
can't
and
be,
on a movie set, and I'm like, it's like, well, you know, I'm queer, Krisha, and it's just like a whole thing. But, you know, we love our chaotic conservative queens, I guess.
Yeah. This is, and I know I got her name wrong last time.
Yeah.
Is she still running your social media?
Yeah,
Pirulin Pimpina.
Pirulin Pimpina, she's my
Pirulin-
social media manager.
This is your social media manager,
Yeah.
Pirulin Pimpina. And you seem a little, I hope you don't mind me saying this, you seem a little exhausted with Pirulin Pimpina.
Well, it's not the typos so much as the waking me up in the middle of the night, being like, it's time to post.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, again, hun, New York time.
Why do you keep her around? I mean, you're working so hard. I feel like you need people who make your life easier, not harder.
That's what my therapist says. But I don't know. Once I meet someone, they're with me forever. You know?
Well,
Yeah.
you're a good, loyal person.
I'm a good, loyal person. Yeah.
Congratulations on the
Yeah.
movie. It's
Thank you for having
fantastic.
me.
It's so
Yeah.
great having you
Yeah.
back. Julio Torres, everyone. Rob LaMisa is playing in select theaters. It opens everywhere March 22nd. We'll be right back with more Late Night.